So without further ado, I see my very first guest in the waiting room. And this guest is somebody that I am so excited to be bringing on, Paul Montanari. Join me, please, my friend. As I always say when I stand up on stage, I say, who doesn't want to talk about loneliness? Yay! I mean, such a crowd favorite topic. So I'm starting my party off with such a fun topic. So welcome, Paul.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
My pleasure. So Paul is the COO of Cigna, which most of us know as an insurance company, and they have been at the forefront. I have been so impressed for the last number of years on investing in and publishing and tracking research on loneliness. And I have been a nerd over their research over the last couple of years, because for years I've been like, there's a lot of loneliness going around, and people, like, I know the antidotes and the feelings and the stories, but to have the numbers has been so big. So Paul, I would love for you to share with us why Cigna kind of got into this and how you got roped into it and your role in it. I'm just super intrigued.
Yeah, well, that's the funny part, Shasta. I mean, when you and I met, it was talking about loneliness at an HR conference. And when I was first approached to even present on it, I was thinking at first, of all the topics, to be known for, to present about, loneliness isn't the thing that usually people, want to attach themselves with. But, you bring it back to who Cigna is. Cigna truly cares about the health, well-being, and peace of mind of those we serve, right? So there's this very altruistic point of view. And when we say the people we serve, we don't refer to just those that have Cigna insurance. We're talking about the people in the communities where we serve. And so you can look at loneliness from one point of view, as in, what does it do to medical cost? That's not why Cigna started this. That's not why I'm interested in it. That's not why I work on friendship at work to combat loneliness. It's not about the medical cost. Yes, there are hard costs to it. There are medical cost impacts. There are productivity impacts, attrition, loss of productivity and loss of revenue. Those are all the sort of hard business numbers you want to throw at it. But at the end of the day, it comes down to, what can we do as a company? What can we do as business leaders to impact the epidemic of loneliness? Because it truly is an epidemic. Everywhere you go, people are dealing with it, whether you see it on their faces or not. And for me, that's the first part, is stopping to even see the issue.
Yeah. Oh, I love that you guys are doing that. I truly do. It does. And you already just made my job so much easier naming so many of the costs that come with it. I wanted to do a quiz real quick with everybody. I'm not going to quiz you on the research, but I want to do a quiz with everybody else. And this is your chance to win a second book, everybody. We're going to put a question up there and you answer A, B, C, or D. Who is the least likely, do you think, to be lonely at work? And the answers are A, ages 20 to 35, B, people of color, C, senior leaders, or D, women. So of all those options, which one do you think is the least likely to be lonely at work? Cigna not only is showing us all of the health costs to us with this, but they did some really great work on workplace studies too, and workplace loneliness. So let's see some of those votes come in. Who do you think is the least likely to be lonely at work? We've got a couple people with C, we've got an A, we've got a D, we've got an A, we've got an A. So keep coming in with those and we'll give you the answer on that in just a second. But yeah, I don't blame you for not wanting to be the loneliness person. Although, as I do want to define loneliness a little bit, and you guys did use the UCLA loneliness scale, which is what I would consider the gold plate, kind of the gold standard for all of the, all the questions, because loneliness is a subjective thing that we're looking at. Yeah, how do you define it in a nutshell?
For me, again, when we talk about it, it's the feeling of not being supported, not being seen, not being known. And then the impacts to that, right? Not having a support system to handle stress, not having an outlet in how to deal with things. So loneliness, again, whether you're looking at the surveys, the statistics, or for all of us at work talking to our employees, it's that lack of a human connection to support you with whatever it is that you're going through, people truly seeing who you are.
Yeah, when you define it that way, it's so helpful, because I think a lot of us have this stereotype of loneliness as, somebody who has no friends or no social skills, or this isolated hermit up in the mountains and who hasn't seen any, human being for 10 years. And it's a really important thing for us to all remember that loneliness is something we all feel on a regular basis. It's much like feeling hunger when you need food. It's your body telling you that you need connection and that you need more support in your life, or that something in your life needs to be seen and needs to be witnessed. And so super, super beautiful to just keep changing the stigma and changing the definition of this, which is beautiful work that you're doing. So I want to share some of the loneliness statistics and ask you, Paul, what jumps out at you that I was shared in my book that jumped out at me from your research with Cigna. It said about 40% of us don't feel like we have close personal relationships with other people. That's a really high number.
Very high.
More than 50% of us feel alone or left out often. Nearly 60% of us don't feel like anyone knows us well. Kind of more extreme, about a quarter of us report that we rarely or never feel close to anyone and believe that no one understands us. Yeah, I don't know if something there jumps out at you or something else that you want to kind of highlight before we give the answer to that question. But when you looked at all this and kind of took it in, did it surprise you? What really jumped out at you? How did it land?
Yeah, the sad part, Shasta, is it doesn't surprise me. And I think that's why, personally in my career, whether Cigna was doing the research or not, it's something that I've cared about, the statistic about people not knowing me. The story I tell in my own experience, I've been at Cigna for 13 years. I took a new role about 4 years ago, and I sent out an email, right? This is me. I'm authentic. I'm going to be vulnerable. I'm going to tell you who I am. And it said at the top, hi, my name is Paul. I was the new senior leader. And I give a little bit about my family, my personal beliefs, my work beliefs, and just sort of my life motto. And I sent it out to the entire team. I had one of my direct reports, a senior leader, that wrote back and said, is this fake? Do I respond to it? Why are you telling me about yourself? I had a frontline employee want to submit it to the Cigna spam filter.
Oh, wow.
It was an external spam. The point being, why would somebody share themselves with me? And at the end of it, I said, please reply back and tell me about you. And the response was, why do you want to know about me? There's this belief in business that you're not supposed to have human connection. So again, when I see that statistic, it doesn't surprise me.
Oh, that's so tragic. And yeah, and your modeling of it shows why we need to be modeling that from senior level positions, because that would be a really harder thing to do if you didn't have that kind of leverage with you.
Yep.
So, Kristen, I wanted to ask you what was the most common answer that came in from the quiz, and who are we giving the book to from who has the correct answer?
Yes, congratulations, Heather Wind Mulder, on your free book. Yay! She got it right.
Answer D. Answer D was women. Did most people get that, or what did most people guess was the right answer?
It was kind of all over the place, actually. Only a couple people got guessed D.
All right. Well, women, it does surprise everyone, because we often think women are the ones expressing it the most or who need it the most. But thank you so much, Kristen. We'll make sure that we get a gift to Heather. Congratulations. Yeah, anything you want to say on that, Paul? So ages 20 to 35 are scoring pretty lonely. People of color and senior leaders all were answers where they're lonelier than average. Like they were higher loneliness than the average number when you looked at the workplace, right?
Yeah, absolutely. In the part, for everybody, when you see this research and you hear the statistics, just for a reminder, the statistics is the what, not the why, right? So you can say whether it's people will apply bias and say, well, young people are lonely because they're on social media and they don't have human connections. Well, that's an assumptive position about that. You can say, you can put your beliefs wherever you think they are. What I like to do is tell people, if these are the statistics, that's what's real. Go talk to them, build the relationships, understand. I do leadership presentations here, and I hear from leaders quite often. I can't be myself in front of other leaders or in front of my employees. The belief is that leaders are supposed to be infallible. Yeah. We don't make mistakes. We don't get nervous. And so when you do that, you create a shield. So then, of course, you feel that people don't know you because you're not letting them. Yeah. Again, and you can play that through each of those groups. There's a why, but to have the why, you have to ask the question and talk to them.
I love that. We're going to talk a lot about leadership in the second hour, and was my favorite chapter. The one I'm most proud of in my book, or one of the two, is on leadership. I have kind of what I would call a more controversial view than some will say, but it's to your point. I don't think it's okay that we just say it's lonely at the top and kind of expect that and allow that to be our norm. So I appreciate your modeling of that. Did you change anything after the research, or as you like that you do differently as COO in either throughout Cigna completely, or even just in your own people who direct report to you?
I have, me personally, I have tried to be consistent. So, a big focus on your book, right? One of the 3 pillars is consistency. That's been my motto for years. I had an employee a bunch of roles ago, first town hall, and she pinged me afterwards. I'd never met her. She instant messaged me, and she said, "I can tell you're real. It felt like you." And to me, that was the greatest compliment ever. And I sort of vowed that day, Dana Chalker was the one that said it to me, that I will never let that go. No matter what my role is, no matter what my organization is, no matter who I'm talking to, this is me. This is who I am. And so do I get put in positions where it's harder to share the who? Yeah. Absolutely. Does it make it less important? Absolutely not. And so I think it just gives me a different platform to talk to more people, to model vulnerability, authenticity, positivity, consistency, every step of the way. Not that I'm plugging your book, Shasta, but
I was gonna say, okay, I'll tell you what the second requirement of all relationships is. It's vulnerability, and Paul is modeling it perfectly. It's one thing for us to interact a lot together at work, but we actually need to get to know each other, and to get to know each other, we have to disclose, and we have to be willing to be seen, and we have to be willing to show up, and there's a lot of other things too. But yeah, that's a beautiful, and then you did name, and we'll get back to this, positivity is the third. And so it needs to feel good, and we need to keep practicing that consistently and do that. And that's a really beautiful, beautiful modeling of that. I could talk to you all day, and I might need to just pull you back into something else sometime. But before we go, do you have a work friend right now that you want to call out and thank, and anybody that you feel like you would say that they make your job better, you feel supported by them, and you feel close to them?
Yeah, I gotta do a little crew, because it wouldn't be fair.
Okay.
And so I think this is what's important. So, and I know some of them are watching right now. Becca,
awesome.
Steve, Paul, John, different layers, different relationships over time that have developed a true friendship that support each other. And not that I want everybody knowing this, but when COVID happened and we're no longer traveling and we're not in the same office, we're in different cities, we made sure every single Wednesday, now it's Thursday, we're going to get together and we're just going to talk. Because again, you can lose that connection. You're not on an airplane. You're not in a conference room talking after the meeting. So we make sure we get together to ensure that we don't let the consistency of our friendship fail. And I think, again, for Becca, for Steve, for John, for Paul, and my weekly crew, they're the people I rely on. They're the people that I'm not always consistent with. I try to be. Shasta, it's one of those things you got to work on. But that's the group that. And
it sounds like you are. Yeah, no, that's a great example. And I'm glad you told everyone that, because that's one of the things I'm being asked a lot by the media now is what can we do while we're all working remote? And I'm just like, we've figured out the productivity piece by being like the consistency piece with technology and our relationships, but we are not figuring out how to actually be share ourselves during that time. And so to get together and just be talking is super duper important. So
absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much for joining me. And I hope to interact with you and continue to lift up your work. And thank you for all the good work you guys are doing and shining a spotlight on a really, really big issue. So thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Shasta. Really appreciate the opportunity. Congratulations on the book. And thank you, because you've now given me something else to share with my people, my employees, and my friends. And I will continue to pass on your book. I already told one of my new mentees, I'm giving her a copy of the book because there's great stuff to learn in there.
Gold stars for you. Thank you so much. And we'll reconnect. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. Thanks for coming on.
You too, Shasta.